Francesco Rizzuto is the Dean and the head at Liverpool Hope University's School of Law in the United Kingdom. He joins me live from the city now. Thank you very much, Professor, for joining us here on TRT World. How serious do you think the UK is taking China and Russia's threats?
Well, I think the UK is taking the Chinese threat very seriously, quite clearly, following the lead of the United States and supporting its traditional ally, Australia. However, it does really beg the question as to what our fundamental strategic interests are in the Pacific. I could understand the French being involved, but the United Kingdom, when we already have a problem that's in the news at the moment, that our conventional army is very, very poorly equipped. But we're spending money on a new generation of submarines that won't actually see the light of day until the 2030s at the very earliest. So it's one can understand the idea of actually being part of the Anglo-Saxon English-speaking alliance, as it was described by our Prime Minister. But is this really a priority for us, given what's happening in Europe?
And that is what makes it a bit mind-boggling, isn't it? According to some, especially in the post-Brexit era, the United Kingdom is not as relevant as it used to be in international politics. So do you think this agreement, the fact that the UK is part of this agreement, is an effort by the British government to become relevant in international politics again, especially in the Western Bloc?
I think that, well, look, Britain has always been relevant in the Western Bloc and in the context of NATO. Whether we have the capability to fulfill all our obligations is a separate question. We're relevant. Of course, Britain has been one of the leading forces in supporting the Ukrainians in their struggle. So this is really about the ability to project your power globally. Now, I don't think Britain has that. We came to the end of it really over the Falklands War. This might be an attempt, but what are we talking about here? We're talking about helping the Australians build their submarines and then perhaps sending 2 or 3 of our submarines, when we eventually get them, to be based in Perth in a decade's time, perhaps. So this is about symbolism more than anything else.
Right.
The ability to project our power is
right.
I think, very limited.
But Professor, if I may interject, you're quite right. The UK is still relevant, but we don't see the UK playing a leading role in international politics as we used to before Brexit, do we?
Well, did it really play a leading role then, or have we fallen for the sort of delusion? Look, since the end of the Cold War, there has been one key superpower, and that is the United States, of course, confronting the other superpowers or re-emerging superpowers or emerging superpowers, i.e. China and Russia. The United Kingdom was simply a loyal ally of the United States. We saw this in Afghanistan, we saw this in Iraq, and so on. And so in that sense, leading is not correct. We were a very, very important supporting act, if that makes sense.
All right, fascinating insights into the topic. Francesco Rizzuto, thank you very much for talking to us here on TRT World. Really appreciate your taking out the time.
Pleasure.